Welcome to the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Join your hosts, three-time WBFF world champions and WBFF royalty, Alicia Gowans and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Welcome everybody back to the latest episode of Queen Divas podcast with the beautiful Stephanie Ayala McHugh and myself.
Hello, everyone. My voice is going to sound a little raspy, a little gone. It is halfway there. I was yelling a lot this past weekend. I was cheering. I was at the Bahamas WBFF show. It was the international show, and I yelled so much it left.
I literally always lose my voice at every single. It's in particular the Australian shows. Because we have the morning thing, we have a two-part show, right? So I literally have no voice by the evening show. So I'm really glad that most of what matters for me yelling at their faces is in the morning, because by the evening I'm pretty gone.
You're done. Yeah. The next day I woke up and I touched my throat and I was like, oh man, I totally went overboard, but it's okay. You know, I had a lot of fun. It was an amazing show. We actually just got back. We just traveled back from the Bahamas. Such an incredible just country, man. Like just so chill. All the people, beautiful water. Such a,
I'm so excited to get back there in November. It's been so long. Actually, you know what's really lovely? This is pretty cool, actually. I just thought about this. We will be back there and we will be there for our anniversary, because that's where he proposed to me 5
I was
years
going to
ago
say
this
that
November.
Yeah,
Great.
so that was the first. Okay, guys, actually, quick little memory lane, just trying to make some memories here. Ali and I, after winning our first world title back in 2017 in London, that's actually when Ali and I connected a little bit more. We had actually done our first show together earlier that year in LA, in April. And we went that August to London and obviously walked away with the world titles. And that was our first world title. And Ali we and her connected backstage. Even after the show, we celebrated, had our pizza and wine. And we decided, she's like, we're going to go to Bahamas in November. We're going to be going out there if you guys want to come out. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm down. I'll meet you there. That's like not too far from Dallas. So it was my first time in the Bahamas going with you guys.
So much fun.
Absolutely in love with the country.
All I can remember is our bike ride where we kept telling Kerry, it's not far to go. It's not far to go. I'm pretty sure we gave that man PTSD about bike rides, because he's like, I do not believe you. Every time Chris wants to be like, it's just up the road.
So you Australians have like a lot of territory to, be able to bike ride and beautiful scenery and things like that to be able to, go bike riding. And obviously in Bahamas, I understand that. But here, guys, we don't grow up bike riding, okay? Like in Texas specifically, you use a car, you use a vehicle to go from point A to point B, and you aren't scarred from going to 27 miles of distance in a bike when you're not used to it, though. Yes, you guys definitely scarred Kerry. He still talks about
so funny. And it was just when that time where and he goes, it's just around the corner. And then next minute we had to go up over the bridge, up this big hill, and Kerry is cussing. He's like, no. That is not just around the corner. That is not only 100 meters away.
Yes, it was a cruise ship actual bridge. So this is a very steep bridge, and for those of you that have been to the Atlantis in Bahamas, to go to Paradise Island, you have to go over this massive bridge to get over to the island, and the cruise ships have to be able to go under. So you can imagine these massive big cruise ships, how big this actual bridges. And oh god, what memories. And every time we go over that bridge, I swear I think of us riding the bike over that bridge. It's an amazing trip. Anyone ever on the verge of trying to visit the Bahamas, in my opinion, it is still one of the most beautiful beaches I have ever been to. It is just a stunning, just location everywhere you go, and the fish is incredible. You know, it's such really good actual food. Unless you're at the resort, I will say, anytime you're at the resort, I think anyone can attest, the resort food isn't as good as actual local fresh
food,
restaurants, you know, when you go in. So that is just a tip for anyone visiting the Bahamas. But talking about travel, so in today's episode, we are going to be covering a little bit about, you know, traveling and how it is nowadays. I think a lot of people are maybe skeptical about traveling or getting, you know, on a plane, or, you know, just overall maybe coming overseas. I don't know. You guys have a big team coming over, right? So that's going to be a trip coming to the world.
We do. We've got a team of professionals. So our pro team, the Aussie pro team that are coming. We have only a couple that are traveling internationally for this world. We've got a much bigger team that are coming within America and Europe. And then I think next year we will see our Aussie numbers and even our own personal team numbers will probably triple. I think it's going to be a substantial increase on the presence we bring this year, which is still going to be, oh man, we're bringing heat. Don't you worry about that. But
so excited for you guys to be back.
It's going to be good, right?
So,
like, yes, I think there's something missing, isn't there? When you go to a show and there's like no Aussies at all, it's like something's wrong.
Oh, there's a gap, you guys. There really is. Wrong. Excited for the Australians to be able to make it. So, and this I think for the Europeans, like a lot of Europeans, gosh, like such incredible athletes, and them not being able to come over, like the expense. My God, the freaking flights skyrocketed.
That's largely what it is for the Aussies at the moment. Is it number one, we don't have very many flights available. So we are still in the process of opening up a much bigger schedule of flights, the ones that are going direct, the frequency even of them. And then in time with more frequency and more flights, obviously price will come down a little bit, but it's literally at the moment 3 times the cost of what it would normally be. Like, it's ridiculous.
And I think this is just the airline industry, because right now, even here in the States, my goodness, and just what I used to, no joke, I used to be able to buy a ticket for $100 round trip, sometimes even less, but you know, depending on the airline. And now it's like not even double, it's sometimes triple depending on kind of where the destination is. So maybe like a regular flight, even if like a round trip was maybe $350 before, now you're paying double of that. You're paying about $700 just to be able to go to Florida. When before, again, I used to be able to buy a round trip ticket for $300, you know, just to be able to come there and back. And it does go off the destination. So like if you're going to go into maybe a more popular city, you might get a little more tax. So meaning they're going to take advantage of you wanting to go to Disneyland, for example. So Orlando, I was mind blown, the tickets that we ended up buying to go to the Orlando show a few weeks back, because that alone should have not been the case. It was like international rates. I was like, come on, this is ridiculous, you know, but it is what it is. It's a tour destination. Everyone wants to go to Universal Studios, wants to go to, you know, like the Disneyland. So
they're actually opened right back up again. I'm assuming they're.
Oh, you guys, big news here in the States. As of 2 weeks ago or so, the mandate of the masks was lifted federally across the whole United States. So it is optional, okay, for you to wear a mask. And it is one of the things that, you know, it's kind of awkward at the airports for some individuals, because you could see it in their face that they're just awkwardly feeling
they're like,
weird with,
don't breathe on me. Don't breathe.
And then you've got, you know, then you have Carrie and I over here just like, fuck yeah, fucking take this shit off, you know, like completely just alleviated with the fact that we could travel again with feeling comforted for us, okay, and our beliefs. Like, I think it's really important for everybody to be very respectful over the decisions that the other individual or the other party is taking, whether if that is to wear a mask or to not. That's your belief, and that's going to be where you stand. But there's really should be no judgment, because it is going to be one of those things that across the board, people are going to either do it or not. You travel or you don't, right? For some, this actually has now made them want to travel again, because so many people were against, especially here in the United States. Don't get me wrong, the traveling still happened during all of COVID, but now even being back at the airport, I'm like, oh man, here goes the line. Here goes all the freaking families all over again, traveling for vacation. Because, look, not even touching the subject, but making your children be, obviously wearing these masks when children are the last, to actually be getting COVID. I understand a family member deciding, a parent saying, I'm not going to be traveling. So families are back to traveling. There's bigger families, a lot of children now, which I think it's beautiful that you're able to take your family on a vacation again. And that's actually what I saw the most in the Bahamas, being able to be there. I'm like, man, this is awesome. Families are back out and traveling again. So I feel like this is to each their own, right? Like however you believe, but it is a safe thing here, as far as kind of like COVID is, the numbers are so much lower. Like, I don't think people need to fear even coming over. Like, I think it's,
the fact that you're no longer in the winter months helps. Like, I think it's not as bad. So that's a good thing. When you flew to the Bahamas, were there the requirements there for you to have to do a positive or negative, like show a negative test before you got on a plane? Is that a thing or no?
That is still a thing going into the Bahamas. And it's going to be per country's regulation, right? Like whether you are going to have to show within a 3-day or within a 1 day. So ironically, going into the Bahamas, it was a 3-day span that you're able to get that test and still get, enter. Into the States, I actually had to show one within 24 hours. So to come back home, I had to take one within that 24-hour period and then show proof of negative COVID. But
with us coming to America, we actually have to have, it's no longer than 24 hours, must be within 24 hours, and it has to be like signed by a regulated body. So you actually have to do it in front of a medical professional and or pharmacist. They have to witness you and then write you a document to say that.
Is that not how you guys have it over there? Because that's how we have all the clinics set up here. So
it's not for everything. It's only to overseas.
You guys do them at home tests and all that kind of stuff. Because we have that home test here, but they normally would just send you to a clinic to get your test to a nurse or a physician.
That's right. And then we actually have to present that document. So anyone listening to this actually that's traveling into the States for Worlds coming up, this will apply to you. So really, because this is a US-based mandate, so regardless of whether you're coming in from Europe or from Australia, this is going to be something you have to do. And so depending upon the day that you're leaving, you want to be thinking about that. Like, where are my locations closest?
Please look at these things.
Don't leave it to last minute.
Oh God, no. Please, this is actually competitors. You should not. If you're going to be traveling, not just competitors, but anybody traveling, you already bought your ticket. Your ticket can't be, changed. And you've been planning all the weeks leading up to your travel date. So especially if you're a competitor, this is a very big issue. I actually had a client that couldn't get into the Bahamas, couldn't get on her plane because her COVID test hadn't came back in time. And she expected it to come back within the time frame that they said, and it still wasn't back. And her flight was leaving. So they would not let her board her flight. So you will not be able to leave Australia or leave Europe, wherever you're at, if the airline already sees your final destination is in the States. So that's kind of the whole thing. Even if you have layovers going to Birmingham or, going over to any other Dubai or anywhere, as a layover, they're gonna look at the final destination. If you hop on the plane, they're not going to let you hop on the plane is what I'm trying to say. Because it's
very true.
Unless it's a separate airline that's not aware of it, and maybe it's an Australian airline coming out, and then you get a layover for another airline, you're still going to get stuck there. So where are you going to get this COVID test, right? So they do have them at the airport. Don't get me wrong. I think, although this individual, I told him, hey, go, and they have them at the airports now. If it's a small airport and it's a domestic, maybe like smaller airport, they don't have them. So we're talking about international airports here in the States do have them. And I'm not sure how the airports over in Australia, if they're offering.
No, you got to have it before you go. So before you even get to the airport, you have to have that documentation that's printed out, along with, I would strongly suggest having a printed copy of your vaccination. We also have to show proof of full vaccinations
of your vax card, right? So
there's
an app now, and this is actually something you guys can all look into, that the United States is actually kind of using as a way for you to upload the documents to speed up the process. So you don't actually have to do this at the counter or do this with somebody. They would actually be able to approve the COVID negative test as well as your vaccination card. There is a little fine print you do have to read, and for all those that hate reading, because I have been on that boat as far as like maybe missing the small fine prints, there is something that would speed up the process for you to be able to upload. So just, I would recommend for you guys to look into downloading that app or uploading over that way instead of having to
What's the app called, Steph?
You know what? Give me 1 second and we'll just keep on talking about it, and I'll give you guys that information.
Yeah, that's good. It was like whatever can speed up your process, the better. And I mean, look, especially for us, we're going to be traveling with, oh my God, she just cut out completely.
Me?
Hang on. You just dropped out of my whole screen. That's another fucking fix up this guy's going to have to do. I don't know what happened. I'll go back to where I was at. Okay. So that's actually something, that would be handy for Christos and I, because we're going to be traveling with a complete newborn, like literally George will be he'll be 6 weeks old that day. He will have just had his first round of baby vaccinations, his 6-week vaccinations on the Monday, and then we fly out.
I can wait to meet him.
And I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'm a little bit nervous about the travel, mainly because I'm just nervous for him. So I'm like, I don't want to catch anything that I'm obviously going to pass along. So I will make sure that we will still wear masks on the plane, just because I'm like, I don't need any of your germs.
Oh, of course.
At all. But then I'm nervous because I'm like, okay,
germs, right?
Exactly. Then I'm like, well, I'm not putting, don't put a mask on your newborn, right? So then and he's going to be sleeping out. So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but when you take a baby on a plane, they sit you at the very front. So if we're in premium economy, we'll be in like the very front row, and they basically attach a bassinet to the wall in front of you, and Bubby will be put into there and sleeps in there. It's like a little, portable.
I've never really, paid attention.
The
babies are traveling.
She's like, I've never needed to know this. That's what they do.
A different process. So you guys will have a different process traveling.
Yeah. So then it's like, all right.
When do you guys come over? When are you guys coming?
We fly out on the 10th, land on the 10th. So we land on registration day. We land in the morning. We'll go straight and check in. And then literally start getting ready to be there for the registration meeting. So pretty exciting. I've got to organize. So I need to organize so many things for the little fella. As soon as he's pretty much born, we need to apply for his birth certificate, because we then need that to apply for an expedited passport. We've already booked his flight, so it's so cool. He's got his first little flight in his full name, and he's not even Earthside yet. So that's pretty cool.
He has a flight ticket to leave.
He has a flight. He's got to come on time.
He's going to live the life. Right? I've lived, I'm going to fly first class as I'm like a 6-week-old baby across the United States.
So I'm very conscious of, the fact that I probably wouldn't care so much if it was just Christos and I wasn't pregnant. Like, I wouldn't really be too concerned. But given the fact that, we literally are traveling with him so new, and also too, I don't want to catch anything because I will be post cesarean. And even though I will be relatively good at that point, 6 weeks post, I should be pretty cleared. They cut all the way through your uterus, babe. It's a major surgery. It's a big, deep cut. And that healing of that will still be going on for a little while longer deep internally.
Oh, you're going to
and
be
coughing
recovering.
And carrying on is the last thing you want, because it's just going to put additional stress on that. So, you know, for many reasons, I'm like, I just don't want to get sick while we're in this travel. So I have thought about this. I've actually laid it in bed at night thinking about it. Too many tabs open in the brain, as you do, and typical, you know, mother's way of thinking. All I'm thinking about is, okay, well, how the hell do you possibly create a relatively safe environment for George when he's going to be in this little bassinet and in open air? You know, it doesn't matter how much we wear masks, he's going to be open. So I don't know. I'm considering just swaddling him and suffocating him in underneath my body, in underneath a bit of fabric and close to me, and trying to reduce as much of that, you know, exposure as possible. I don't know. But outside of that, I probably would be maybe not wearing a mask if it wasn't for our situation. But I would say to anyone who's traveling that is a competitor, wear a goddamn mask.
Please just protect
yourself. You don't have
possible.
Masks required, because you like, don't wear one home. That's fine. Whatever. After the show, all bets are off. You can do whatever you want.
Your immune system's already shot, guys. It's the reason why I even encourage it again.
Exactly.
It's more about just being precautious. I have already had COVID. I've literally traveled without the freaking like whole, you know, vaccination and everything, and COVID and everything was around, right? And so with everything going on, I'm still, again, it's a belief. It's everything that comes down. Doesn't mean that COVID's not around, right? Doesn't mean that COVID you can't be caught, right? Like, I think it just comes down to a personal preference. And if you already are in a scenario with underlying health concerns, like, gosh, you absolutely should be concerned.
Even super lean, Steph, your immune system is slightly compromised. Yes. So the only reason I'm suggesting it is because I don't know if there are venue restrictions and you've got to test before you compete. I don't know whether or not you need to show negative before you compete. But I do know this. You do not want to get on stage feeling like a bucket of pus because you've actually got COVID, and you're not then going to present your best self, or you're going to be puffy and swollen because it's an inflammatory, you know.
And exactly what I was going to say. You might not even know you had it though.
Exactly, but you're going to get inflammation.
You don't know the symptoms, right? Like, but exactly, you'll have some kind of signaling in your body. Gosh, like I saw another scenario going into the Bahamas. Someone that was going to come support, and I'm like, "Where are you?" And they're like, "I got a positive COVID test trying to come over, and I can't come." I'm like, gosh, dang it! She felt fine.
It's everywhere. It's honestly everywhere here too. It's honestly everywhere here too, and it's very similar context. But I mean, in here though, up until I think like literally very recently, you had to do a test before you could even go into the venue, so you couldn't have turned up for a show.
You guys are probably like the California, New York type of status where they have to show a vaccination card to be able to attend.
Yeah, so then that's what it was like.
Show that. Yes, so that is just in states that are with governors that believe, again, belief, going back to belief and, you know, what people kind of follow and what they're, you know, really trying to put out there. And again, if it's a government thing going off of each state. Here in Texas, let's talk about Florida. We may be looked as fools by media, but here it is open. There's no requirements to have a freaking vax card, no requirements to go into a restaurant with the damn mask on. You know what I mean? Just to get seated. Just to get seated. Come on.
Ours has changed now. You just can't you can't go into certain places. So it's like hospital,
like the
medical centers,
big medical places,
things like that.
Or government owned. Government-owned establishments, usually even here, are gonna require you. But even like on campuses now, they don't enforce it. Like it's an optional thing, and that is a government, you know, obviously owned, like the universities and certain campuses. And it used to be a mandate before, and now it's lifted.
I think that's pretty, you know, quality consideration for people is check ahead, check where you're going, check the state you're going to be in. Check the, you know, the areas where you have to have a mask and all vaccination.
So we could say, like, for example, in New York, like the Madison Square Garden, you can't go in at all to watch a UFC fight, to watch a boxing or go to a basketball game or anything without a damn vaccination card. And this was just across the board for even restaurants in New York City. So it really comes down to, again, the state, where the venue is in the state, you know, that also kind of plays a big role. There's, for example, I know in LA, right? Such a big show we used to have there. God, one of my favorite
it's
shows.
so sad that's gone.
And we can't have it there because freaking California is so damn corrupt right now with the damn COVID regulations.
It's a bit harsh. And you know, look, that's completely taken away from what was one of our best shows on the schedule, right? It's sad. That was almost a constitution, the whole LA show and LA experience. It's just so sad to see it go.
It was a must show.
With the Atlantic City show coming up at the end of the year, is Atlantic City classified in the same scope as New York City, or is it a little bit more relaxed? Like, what's the go there?
It's New Jersey, so it's a separate
area. Okay.
Separate area, and it being obviously a little bit more of a casino vibe and everything. It's gonna be an optional thing. I do know that there was, you know, obviously I think because things have lifted, the year that we were in a couple years back, we all had to wear masks like everywhere. Last year it was an optional thing. Like no one really had to even wear them this last December. So this year, I'm assuming it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Unless we have some brand. Okay. So, hey, I don't want to speak too soon because being with the governors a little more in the north area, they're neighboring New York. It's just kind of, they're friends, man.
Never know, right?
Look at it, they're all in the same kind of party, and you are going to, you know, get someone to say, "Oh, there's a new wave." You know, it's higher numbers again, so they may just require us to wear them. But
I guess it's going to be cold there at that point.
It's going to be winter again.
You know, I guess anything could possibly happen, right? And I'm asking about that because that's actually going to have a really large number of competitors at it. So it's exciting to sort of see, you know, what
great show. But location, like you said, because it's cold,
freezing.
You know, it is very, very cold in December, especially in the north. And there's nothing to do outside. So thank God, because you can just stay inside the casino. It's a resort casino, so you just either gamble or you obviously are just chilling in your room or have some food or walk around and maybe do some shopping in some of the neighboring resorts, hotels that are by there. This
is why we always do the Bahamas beforehand, and then we fly in time for the show, and then we get our butts to New York, where there's at least a lot more to do.
There's more to do, exactly.
Which is interesting because now, you know, I just need to let my team know that it's going to need
New York is like that.
You need to have vaccinations for that. So that's really handy to know. So I think, you know, for anyone sort of looking to travel, even if it's just for, you know, personal, you know, and pleasure trips, I think still look ahead and look at where you're going. What are the mandates? What are the restrictions? Considerations, what's etiquette even in that culture or country, because, you know, some might not care at all and others might be still quite like where,
you know, off the individual though, Ali, like even in Bahamas, like they're enforcing the masks, but it's really just really off the place you go into, the employees that are working, like half of them weren't wearing it. You clearly feel comfortable knowing that it's all good not wearing one. But if all of them are wearing it and they're looking at you with the eyes, like with, you know, burning right through your soul, you already know, put it on, right? Like, so it just goes off respect. And I genuinely do believe that everyone is, you know, right to their opinion, right to their belief. And we all need to respect that, you know? And I think that's why we're a society, man. Like, this is why not everybody's on the same page. Everybody has to see eye to eye, but we all definitely need to.
I'm really hoping that the travel continues to open as it has, and that we're seeing more and more people taking vacations, because that's going to benefit us on the show tour, with just more options, more flights, more affordable fees. Like, I really hope so, because we're looking at it already for like what we have coming up this year, and then what the schedule looks like next year, because, you know, as of next year, we're back to business. So we will be at all the major pro-ams. We will be at, you know, several of the larger regional shows in the US that, you know, that we, you know, really proactively support, like the Dallas shows. You know, we'll be at all of those. So we will be back in the US for maybe like 4 months or more of the year next year. You know, that's kind of really how it flows. So for me, I'm like, I just need that to come down in price, because
Oh,
it's
of course, and you
ridiculous
have more on
at
your
the
plate
moment.
coming on. Like we've got
Yeah.
Luke George coming in. I think it's extremely important, you know, for you guys to travel safely and take all the protocols you need to, because you're not going to have like your actual insurance here in the States like you would back home, right? So I'm sure
Actually,
that is
great
a big
point on that, Steph. Great point on that, because that was one thing that I did make a note of to talk about today too, is check into your insurance and look at what you need and what cover you need for where you're going, and make sure that you've got cover. Because, you know, if you're like me, I've still not had COVID. So, you know, who's to say I'm not going to end up in an intensive care unit on a bloody ventilator? Who knows? You don't know. And you know what? The last place I want that to happen to me is in goddamn America, where they would literally, I'd have to sell a kidney on the black market to afford to pay for it. Like, actually, your health system is so expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you need to have
unfortunate. It is, but when you have to think of this, when you travel to another country, if you go to jail or you go to the hospital,
far
these
out.
are the two things that you are worse.
Will literally bankrupt you. Literally bankrupt you. It's the only reason we didn't do the Orlando show, was that I was right at the cutoff of the international flight requirements for pregnancy. So like, I would think I was literally a week. I was in the final week I could possibly fly internationally. So that put me at a higher risk on the insurance platform already. But then we could not get insurance anywhere in America to cover the baby. So meaning that should I go into labor anywhere over there randomly, the baby in neonatal care, because it would survive and it would go in neonatal and it would probably be in there for 12 to 14 weeks. They were predicting it would cost 1.5 to 2.5 million. That would, and you would be paying that out of your own back pocket. Could you imagine that? Like, this kid would have already cost me a ridiculous amount of money in IVF fees, and then it cost me. All I would be thinking is, this kid had better be like the next Elon Musk and taking care of its mother for life. Like, oh my God.
I'd be okay with, you know, any professional player, but yeah, Elon Musk.
He better have the capacity to buy Twitter like it's a cup of coffee, or I would be really upset with my return on investment. Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, y'all, but that was hilarious. No, I understand that the process, even of IVF, like I've actually taught, not even going into the topic, but God, it's mind blowing the expense that you have to undergo. Like other clients of mine that are, you know, going through the process, I'm like, what, you paying what? Like, you're doing what with the price of this, and this is not guaranteed. And I know you went through so many rounds, and gosh, so your baby's already expensive. So let's keep it over baby, like being born over in Australia. Making it God forbid for you, you have an American baby because you were over here and you don't have them over here.
I know. And you know what, actually, when we were originally looking at it, we were actually going to work with an IVF specialist, because our client is an embryologist in this clinic in Dallas. We were going to do it in Dallas, and then COVID hit, so we couldn't do it. But the other reason we wanted to do it there was because you can actually select more options in America with the IVF process. So you guys don't have restrictions like we do here. We have like a God restriction here where we can't play God. So we can't choose a gender. We can't choose any physical attributes. We can't, if there was, there's only certain issues with an embryo that we can say, well, we're not going to use it. Whereas in the States, you guys can literally walk in and be like, I want triplets. I want them all to have red hair and green eyes. And like literally you guys can do that, right?
I've been told, like, hey, by the way, my due date is in the States. You're gonna have blue eyes, blonde hair. And I'm like, wait, did you just tell me everything about your child? And it's not even born.
Nuts. Nuts.
It is pretty insane.
We're not even allowed to be told here what the embryo is. So when they implant you, they already know, the technician knows what that child is going to be, whether it's going to be a boy or a girl, right? They're not allowed to tell you. Legally, by law here, they are not allowed to say a word.
They make you pick here. Yeah, they definitely will let you not make you.
Yeah, because we're not allowed to choose the gender, which like that stuff didn't really faze me, but there were a couple of things that we did want. And the number one thing we did want was to get twins. And in Australia, they don't actually allow for that. So you can get them randomly by chance, but they will not plan for that. Yeah. So that was the only
you are going to have obviously the most beautiful baby, because both of you guys have such amazing skin, both amazing, again, like faces and personality. So I can only imagine what little athlete and of just Amazonian style little bombshell, you know, George is gonna be, because both
Chris
of you guys are
keeps
awesome.
telling me he's got to come out 7 foot or else he's putting him back, because because 1 out of 10, 7, I think it's 1 out of 10. It might actually be 2 out of 10. It's a pretty big stat anyway. He becomes a professional NBA player, and that's all he wants him to be.
I can totally see him.
No pressure on this kid, right?
No pressure at all.
Already in utero, there's pressure to be tall. Like, oh my God. Well, so, you know, I think
with a baby, but you know, you're going to learn a lot and you'll be able to teach us all.
I hope so. So for us, those were the things we had to consider with the travel we're about to do, was just, you know, looking at the insurance was a big thing. The restrictions were a big thing. The main thing for us with traveling to the US was making sure that we had organized our, you know, COVID, the regulated COVID test, where they've got to be, you know, under, observation. So someone's got to witness you doing it and then take that to the airport. And then in Australia, we're not allowed to be anywhere inside of an airport without a mask. So we will physically be wearing one the whole time. And then my considerations were, how do we keep Bob from catching anything? And hopefully everyone on the plane is legitimately negative, so we don't have a problem. But, you know, you never know, right? You never know.
Really think of it. Everyone is testing negative before getting even on, you know, coming overseas.
You got to hope it's safe, pretty safe.
Yeah, that is safe. And, you know, it's more about taking your own precautions. I really do think that you're going to be someone that has to have something at risk, someone at risk. You do have to take your own precautions and be a little bit safe. I really, really enforce for you to look ahead at the COVID testing. That's probably the number one thing that you probably have to prioritize when knowing your flight is going to be. You tell the lab that, you tell the clinic, wherever you're going, that this is when I fly out. When will I be able to come in so that I would get my test back? Because sometimes we don't realize, if our flight is on, let's say, for example, a Monday morning, and the clinic's closed Saturday, Sunday. All right. This is what happens. You go and test Friday. Well, you still don't get it back by Monday because the lab doesn't work for a business day. And some places are different, especially this being an issue across the board here in the States. So many clinics have opened up to where they're open 24/7, no joke, or like every day, like every single day. It's a like thing here where these pop-up clinics have came over all over the state, all over really the US, and all they're doing is COVID testing. All they do all day, and they get it to you either in a rapid form. So it's all about payment. If you're going to pay, let's say $30 as an example to get a rapid, you might get it done in an hour and it'll get results back. Or if you need a PCR test, it's going to cost you like $150, right? Like, and that'll take you anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to receive.
You guys got to pay for your PCR.
Absolutely. This is a money industry, Alicia. Remember, it's big pharma over here. Okay. You guys, it's a money industry. Oh, you guys don't even know. Like, it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous how many clinics are, and you already know how much they make off of the COVID tests, off of the clinics charging this. Then if there's some places they'll take insurance, some that you have to pay out of pocket. So it's just such a money
grab, right?
Oh man, all the clinics that just pop them up, or just even at the airport, 150, 185 because you're late. You don't have one. You don't have one right now. You need it before you get on the plane. In order to give it back to you in an hour, you're gonna have to pay $200.
That's crazy.
You know? Oh no, each person, like, and take this for like actual granted, whenever people don't take this serious, you have to take it serious about getting it done in a timely manner to where you receive your test back, to not have to pay a ridiculous amount. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, because I've had to do this, and it's just because you're maybe not paying attention to it, not coming back in time. So even to travel, for example, when I send my parents to El Salvador, it's within 3 days. So I know if their flight leaves on a Wednesday, I can still take them in on a Monday, and they'll receive their testing back before maybe the end of the day or by the morning of the next day. And that's when the date starts. Does that make sense? So like when you receive your lab back is when your 3 days start. So it's not when you actually took the test. So you might have taken it. It's when you receive your results. So whatever the stamp or date and time it says that you receive your labs back is when you know you have that 3-day period. If they're requiring your PCR test, or rapid would be within 24. The rapid doesn't last as long. So the rapid, if that's what I had to just take before coming back, so what, it cost me $30 to be able to show them proof that I don't have COVID. Okay, cool. No big deal. You know, I paid that in Bahamas, because it was in the Bahamas that I ended up having to do the rapid test. But here in the States, to go to the Bahamas, I had to pay the full PCR test.
PCR. Oh my God.
Yeah, in order to enter. And those are the more, I guess,
when you start thinking about the additional costs now, right, as a coach to travel to all the shows, because this is, you know, the little mission I've been on with the accountant of late, coming into
with domestic flights, Ali, here in the States, once you get here, you don't have
to do it. No,
just international
for us
and coming in.
It's all the additional expenses as a result of COVID now on our travel for all the international shows. And that's actually going to be most of our travel, because, you know, our shows here in Australia are really close for us. It's just a short drive. Like, we don't have any of those issues. It's so good. But man, it's a bit of a mission.
Just a little insight, everybody, look, do your research. I recommend to do the research through the airline you're traveling with. Otherwise, it gets really confusing. The airline you're traveling with is going to give you all of the information. For example, if you're traveling with American Airlines, which is also what, like British Airways, and, you know, obviously owns, I think, like another airline, but American Air or something like that, right? They're all the same company. You're going to get the same information. If you're traveling, you know, obviously through a Qantas or something like that, that comes through all the way here, they're going to give you that type of information. So just always go through the website of the airline, and then from there you will go to the TSA travel of the United States, and that'll give you any further information that you're probably, you know, maybe wondering.
Beautiful. Well, I think most people that will be listening to this, if they are doing travel for a show, will be, you know, largely looking at US based shows. So this is a very relevant conversation.
Everybody.
Yeah, I think what I need to look into is whether or not I'm going to get stitched up at an airport for those bloody return flight tests.
No, Ellie, I'll send you a couple clinics to go to. You'll be fine. You don't have to do it at the airport. I honestly think it's more of a hassle to do it at the airport. That's just last minute. Or maybe a result didn't come back in time and you need to get something, you know, quickly. I will make sure you are good. There is nothing you won't know once you come over on this side of the world. So if you guys are traveling internationally, guys, making sure, you know, you look at your airline, look at the COVID testing that you have to get, you know, to come over here. That is a PCR test or a rapid test. An antigen rapid test is the official name. And also look at the costs, because it does vary from clinic to clinic. And make sure you are, you doing optional here. Once you get to the States, just don't freak out once you see that what some people wearing masks or not when you get into the airports, because they actually start once you get across, you know, into the airline that is owned by America. So for example, when I got in the Bahamas, inside the airport of the Bahamas, I still had to wear the mask. The moment I stepped inside of the airplane that was owned by the USA, I was able to take it off. Half the staff was wearing it, half the staff wasn't. That's how you'll know, again, it's an optional thing.
Yeah, I understand that. Wow, very interesting. Well, I'm actually super excited. I cannot wait to do our little adventure. I cannot wait to come over and see everyone. I'm pumped. And it will just be the start of a few trips for us now moving forward. So
It's really exciting to know that, the Aussies are coming back. And I know this applies not just to Ali's team, but to other, competitors that are coming over, and maybe other, not just Australians. I know we always kind of refer to Americans and Australians because I'm American and Ali is, Australian, but we have a lot of other listeners, Europeans. We have, some other, just like even Swedish ones. Like we've had some Swedish competitors come over, and like other, of course, just like I said, like Europe is so big. I'm not trying to say just one of the countries, all of the countries that are over there, even South Africa, you know what I mean? And just a lot of international countries that used to compete with the WBFF, I know are probably on the verge of wanting to come pick a show in the States. So pick it, look at those travel restrictions on your end. And if you ever have any questions, obviously about the USA, type of traveling, things, you can always, message individually to me. But look, I don't have the government TSA information. So if you ask me something very detailed, I'll be like, hey, go back to their website, because I'm gonna have to do the same research you're doing. But if it's something, just about Dallas, about Texas, about the state itself, then you feel free. I'm an open book.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Queen Divas Pod, on Twitter at Queen Divas 4, and follow our hosts on Instagram, Alicia at Alicia Gowans _ WBFF Pro, and Steph at Stephanie Ayala 7. See you all next week.